You're very well known for your Broadway career as an actor and singer, but perhaps less so as an audiobook narrator, even though you've been doing this for quite a number of years now. So how did you get into audiobook narration? How did it start?
Oh, wow. Well, I was already recording either commercials or audio work when I lived in London. So that was years ago now. That was like 22 or 23 years ago, longer than that when I started recording it. So I had an agent in London. So I had a little bit of history. I sort of started young, and the younger you start something, what do they say? 10,000 hours makes a master. Well, I've definitely done more than 10,000 hours at this point, although I don't know if I would call myself a master, but a master. Don't think so. But so when I moved to America, I had a little reel. You make a reel of your work to try and advertise yourself. But in the end, I didn't really need it. I met an actress who shared her voiceover agent's information. She was also British, actually, Suzanne Bertish, and 2006, I think. Yeah, she introduced me to her voiceover agent, so I had my little British reel, and she listened to that, and that's how it started here. But I've been doing it for a long time, so I was lucky to start early and build reputation.
Mm. And would you say that your theatre training helped you prepare for the voice work, or did you have to learn different skills?
No, I think theater training and more vocal training, part of theater training is voice training, is training to read text quickly. I mean, when you get a play or a workshop when you're working in the theater, sometimes you get the script a couple of days before. Sometimes you even get it that morning. I mean, rarely, but sometimes. So you're sort of reading cold. So part of the craft of learning acting is learning how to read cold, reading it first time out loud. So, and I also used to read the newspaper out loud. In fact, sometimes when I read my own books, I read them out loud. It helps me remember the information better. So I guess I've been accidentally practicing reading out loud for years and years and years. So yeah, I guess the acting training helps. It helps with the voices and when you're doing characters, obviously. I used to read out loud in the library when I was very young. I used to love to go to the library and rent books, but they wouldn't like me to stay there because I used to read out loud and it was annoying to everybody. So this has been going on for a long time. I better be
Mm.
reasonably good at this point.
Mhm. So you started with The Wrong Hands by Nigel Richardson in 2006, and the
Well, that's
same
when I
year
started in the US, yeah.
in the US.
Although I couldn't tell you what work I did in Britain, I don't remember. A mobile phone commercial, I remember that.
Maybe, yeah, maybe, yeah, something with Apple as well.
I spent a lot of time in the
Yeah.
pub. Do you know what I mean? So in between the pub and then the work, I don't really, it's all just a blur.
Mhm. And now you have Dune, you released Dune the same year as The Wrong Hands, and now you have a catalog of about, well, more than 60 books.
Wow.
So how does it work? How do you choose the books? What's the process? Is it like auditions in the theater? How does it work in the audiobook narration world?
Well, honestly, as your reputation grows, the book sort of chooses you. I have a good reputation with. I'm lucky that it's quite a few of the bigger publishing houses like Penguin Random House and Simon and Schuster, and so I've worked with some of the bigger publishing houses. And if you do good work, you get remembered for it. And I think early on they were happy. So producers will still reach out and give me work. In fact, I have another project coming up next week to read an author I've read before, actually, Joe Nesbo. I've read a couple of his books, maybe even three of them, and I have another one coming up. So, and that came to me. And I rarely turn the work down because I'm really lucky. I get good work. I get good books. These bigger houses and Audible, they don't they take on good work. So I'm pretty much guaranteed to get a good book. There's a couple of times I've turned it down, but it's never because I don't like the book. There have been books that I wouldn't necessarily have picked up off the shelf if it was just me reading them. But what happens in that situation is by the time I've finished it, I realize what I'm missing out on by not picking a book off the shelf. So it makes me want to read more, which is weird, right? You think it would make me want to read less, but it actually makes me want to read more. And now I've forgotten the question.
No, it's fine. It was
But that's
about
again
the
goes back to
process,
being
yes.
that goes back to being in the pub from about 16 until last week.
And in comparison with acting on the stage, what do you think are the biggest challenges of audiobook narration, especially not having an audience? Does that make it more difficult or?
No, not at all, because you sort of become your own audience in a weird way. If I know that it's going well if I'm enjoying it. Not just I'm enjoying the book, but I'm enjoying playing the characters. I'm connecting with it, which I certainly have done for the Hierarchy series. Starting with The Will of the Many, it was really quick to get into the characters. They're well written. The book is detailed and deep. There's a lot to chew into. And the series is long. I mean, the books are long in a beautiful way. They're exciting the whole time. There's a lot going on, but you spend a long time with these characters. So I just
And how do you maintain the energy and emotional connection?
cocaine. No, not cocaine. I haven't really been in the pub for the last 30 years either. I'm just trying to be funny. Um, that's a really good question. Usually, when you're recording, you're in the studio from about 10 a.m. till 4 p.m., 10 till 5 if you're really brave. And I'm pretty quick. I can read, 70 to 90 pages a day, depending on how difficult the language is, which I believe is quite quick. So you're just sort of, it's like being on a train. You just get on the train at 10 a.m. and you get off at 4. I mean, there's definitely a lot of breaks, and it's good because in my situation, I can like, the reader sort of calls for a break when the time comes. When your voice is getting raspy, it's starting to sound tired, or your concentration. Sometimes the words blur, you know. These days we read off an iPad. Used to be paper. It
Mhm.
used to be, and you had to be so careful turning the page. You had to, especially if the next word was over the page, you had to prepare yourself and turn it in a pause so you could, so that can be deleted, that noise. That was weird. Now we're on iPads. What's good about that is you can zoom in. So my currently unable to read text situation is solved by the iPad. Um, because, in the days when it was paper, your eyes would get so tired, the text would just seem to shrink. But you get on the train and you keep going.
And do you have to take special care of your voice during those recording sessions or
Not
no?
particularly.
Not particularly.
Maybe I should, but I'm getting away with it.
So you've narrated several different genres: children's, history, biography, mystery, fantasy, thriller. Which one or which ones would you say are the most difficult? Is
Well,
there
you
one?
missed sci-fi, my favorite
Sci-fi.
genre. I love sci-fi. I like the aliens and the non-humans because sometimes you get to be the decider. You get to decide what the accents will be, what the voices will be. Do the aliens speak like this, or do they speak like this? You know, hopefully no alien speaks like that unless it's in a book for a 4-year-old. But um, yeah, so sci-fi is my favorite, but I get a lot of young adult and younger books.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because, in a good way and a bad way, I have a very youthful attitude to life. Some people would say childlike, and others would say childish. Uh, but I think maybe that's part of it. I just sort of have this sort of youthful attitude, and I really enjoy doing books for young people because honestly, I like grand character. I'm a fan of Doctor Who. I'm a fan of children's theatre. I go see community theatre out in Tennessee and when I lived in Scotland. I love RuPaul's Drag Race. I like heightened emotions. I'm a heightened emotion kind of guy. So when you're doing children's books, the characters are bigger and the voices are bigger, and because you gotta excite people. And I feel like I'm doing more than reading a book with young adult books. I feel like I'm really imparting knowledge of English language, knowledge of sentence structure. So you really want to make it clear. I get to have a small hand in educating children, I suppose, or at least exciting them, educating their imaginations, and that's really great. So yeah, I love young adult stuff, and I love sci-fi. Some of the young adult stuff I've done has had pretty adult themes too, like the Simon Snow books by Rainbow Rowell. They dealt with themes of broken families and of They dealt with lots of adult themes, but they also dealt with homosexuality and, you know, the hardship in friendships and how what happens when love breaks apart, all set in the sort of school of vampires and werewolves, you know. So yeah, I get to tackle interesting subjects for young people, and that's great.
And how do you approach a text? And would you say that your approach has changed since you first started? So what
Well,
sort of
definitely
details? Yeah.
the most important thing when approaching a text for me is making sure that I have the book the right way up. And then from there, I mostly just read the words. No. I mean, how do you prefer for a text? For example, the next book I'm reading is quite complicated and it bounces between decades and also between American characters and Norwegian characters. Accent work is definitely the hardest. You know, I have a natural ear for some accents, all the British ones and the Australian ones, and some American, but others need a lot of work, where some people are really good at just popping all of them in and out. Others need a lot of work. So there's more preparation required for the kind of book that's coming up than there is for doing something in a Scottish or English or even Australian accent because they're easier for me. But most of the preparation is you pre-read it, knowing who the characters are from, knowing who the characters are and what their arc is. The same as reading a play. It's the same thing. You just, you know,
Mhm.
research character, and it's not that different. It's nice because there's no other actors to mess it up.
And what happens if you make a mistake during a recording? Do you stop? Do you have a specific technique? Or how do you handle that?
Well, there are two main ways of doing it. One is called punch and roll. That means so you're reading your sentence, and then Mark walked into the room and he didn't walk, he ran. So I got to go back. You would stop where you made a mistake. Oh, sorry, that was wrong. The engineer will pop back to the last sentence and will press play from there so you can hear where you were, and then you just come straight back in with the damaged sentence and fix it. The other way is just to stop and go back and do it yourself so you don't have to listen to the end of the last sentence or free roll. You just make the correction. And everyone's listening for it. If there is a remote director or a director in the room, they'll be listening for mistakes and reading along. The engineer is reading along and listening for mistakes. And of course, if you're paying any attention, you should catch your own as well. So, you know, it's recording. You can cut it all out.
Mhm.
You know, you could edit the book by just deleting the audio.
So I'd like to talk about the Hierarchy series. Well, in November, you released The Strength of the Few, the sequel to The
Well, I
Will
wish I
of the
could say I
Many.
released it. I
Well,
just ordered it.
yeah.
James Islington and Audible released. Is it Audible? I believe it's Audible.
Audible, yes, yes.
I hope so. Yes.
And the book went straight to number one in three categories on release day, which is fantastic.
Amazing.
And so, did you feel extra pressure knowing the book had such high expectations?
No, I didn't know the book had such high expectations until about a day before I went into the studio. I didn't really, I don't go online particularly to see how well my work is doing, mostly because 50% of it isn't doing well. I want to make sure that I catch the good ones if I'm going to read it. So I guess I'm quite naive to either the failure or success. I'll only know it's successful if you write to me and say it's successful, or if, one of my friends like the TV show Evil. I voiced a demon on the TV show Evil, and that was quickly successful. And because it's TV, which is obviously further reaching than audiobooks, I get a lot of like feedback on that. People will write to me or, write to my YouTube page or whatever. Um, yeah, I don't really follow if it's successful or not. I just know it was successful because they offered me book two. And then you told me it was successful, so then I was like, oh shit, I better get it right now. No, no. So I don't have that kind of pressure. It's not up to me whether the book sells well or is well reviewed. I just go in and do it. And like I said, if I'm enjoying it and I'm laughing at the funny parts and sad at the sad parts. I read a book called Same Same years ago. And I had a full-on breakdown toward the end when something happened to the leading character. And I had a full breakdown in the studio in front of the remote director and the engineer. I'm just like sobbing a mess. We had to stop and take a break. I was really into it. It was one of the my favorite books I've ever read, actually. Um, and that really stuck with me and really affected me, and so some of the work stays with me a long, long time. Same will never go away because I had such an emotional connection to it.
Mhm. And in the strength of the few and the will of the many, were there pronunciation challenges with the
Oh
Latin
my God,
misspelled
every
names?
page had a pronunciation challenge. I shouldn't tell anyone this because it just makes me sound so unprofessional. But in strength of the few, um, some of the pronunciations I either misread the pronunciation guide or I chose the less classical version of the Latin and it was meant to be the other one. And I had hundreds of pickups. Pickups are when you go back into the studio after you've finished the initial recording to fix mistakes that you didn't catch the first time. Because even with three or four people listening in and reading along, mistakes can still be made. Well, this time there was hundreds of mistakes because I think I mispronounced uh, uh, the name of a lake, which was a very important location. The name of a leading character, which is very important. So we had to go back in and record. It was like, when I say hundreds, it was hundreds. So that made me seem totally incompetent and terribly unprofessional. But I'm grateful that no one yelled at me and Audible gave me 2 days. But it was out in their studio in Newark, New Jersey, which is miles from where I live and has terrible traffic. So I think they were trying to punish me for my lack of professionalism. So yeah, in answer to your question, yes, there are many challenges in Strength of the Few and the Hierarchy series because the language is complicated. At least the naming of cats is a difficult matter, and the construction is complicated. There's many different locations, many different characters. There's also fight scenes and grand spectacles in the gladiatorial rings, and so yeah, there's a lot going on.
And the book has some incredibly intense scenes, the
Yeah, I know.
opening, the fighting scenes. So, which scenes was most challenging or emotionally demanding to record?
Oh, am I allowed to give away plot points? A character dies in the first book, The Will of the Many, and I really liked that character. I enjoyed playing that character, and I really liked that character. So that was actually quite a hard scene to do. I don't like when people die, especially if I like them. That's true in real life too. And I also, and uh, I don't like when people break up or argue. You know, who wants to go to work and pretend to break up with someone every day? Because if you're really into it, like if you're really into the character or really into the thing, like you can sort of feel it. Like, I've played some really interesting characters in the theater, and I, I think, I think a good actor some can feel it. You feel what they're feeling. You learn how to live other people's emotions and really connect to them. And so that's true of the audiobook world too. You can really connect and really feel it. And if you're really feeling it, it can really mess you up. Death and the destruction of relationships. Mhm.
And which new character was the most interesting or challenging to voice in the sequel?
Oh my God. Sorry, this is just a rolled up napkin. I've been holding it this entire time, and then I realized I just was sort of holding it randomly. A random little, it's like a snowman. It's a snow napkin. It's not a snot rag. It's just totally clean. I just rolled it. What was the question?
Which new character in the sequel was the most interesting or challenging to
Oh
voice?
yeah, yeah. My goodness. I'm not going to pick one because that whole book was challenging. It was set in three different worlds, three different environs, three different emotional settings, three different emotional experiences for the characters. So everybody was hard.
Mhm. Okay. And how do you maintain consistency with returning characters?
Well, with it, if it's a series like now, I just listened to the first book.
Okay.
That's the best way to do it is to stay in touch. It's really the only time I'll listen to any of my work all the way through. Um I mean, there's no way I could have done Strength of the Few without re-listening to Will of the Many and taking thousands of notes. I've just completed another book as well called Acadia, which is set in a fantasy world, also fantasy sort of not sci-fi, but yeah, fantasy sci-fi, I guess. And that was lots of deep research, well-written characters, and again, you in that kind of situation, you better make sure you've pre-read it and that you've made choices about who each character is going to be. And it's very rare, but sometimes you can read a book and you've made a choice about the character, and then all of a sudden something will change and you'll realize that it was all wrong and you'll have to go back and rework it. But that's rare. Um, yeah,
So this one will be released in January, Acadia.
Acadia, I
Yeah.
believe so. Yeah.
Mhm.
I
And
think
what is
it's part of a big series too. I think it's 4 or 5 books. So fingers crossed that Sterling Nixon, the author, hi Sterling, fingers crossed it does well, so they'll ask me to do the next one.
and what is your next project?
Oh well, the Joe Nesbo book. It's called Wolf Hour,
Mhm.
and that'll be a recording next week. That's my next
Mhm.
project.
And are there
And then I
any
might try and help my mom and my Auntie Janet sell their scarves that they make. I want to practice building an Etsy page for my mom.
and are there any dream projects, books that you would love to narrate?
Oh, not books I'd like to narrate. I mean, there's lots, I'm sure, but no, yes, of course, there's a dream project. And I actually wrote to Nicholas Briggs, who is the producer of the big Finnish Doctor Who series. So they do so I play a character in the Star Wars world, the Star Wars video game Knights of the Old Republic, and been doing it for a long time. Well, it's similar in the Doctor Who world. They have these player casts. So they have new Doctor Who stories with the older doctors, the doctors from the classic series, Tom Baker, Peter Davidson, and they do these with all these characters and they have actors and they create whole stories and worlds. I want to be in those. And if you can make it happen, or anyone out there, if you've had the moment to watch this, can you please tell Nicholas Briggs to read my letter? I really
And
want to do Doctor Who. If I can just record a Doctor Who story, I'll play an alien. Ah, I'll talk like this. Play Alpha Centauri. That's what I want to do. To make it happen. I think I've even got where's my Doctor Who stuff? Oh, those are Doctor Who books up
mhm.
here. Got them all out. Well, they're everywhere. Yeah, anything Doctor Who related, that's what I want to do.
Can you tell us a little bit about your other voice work, right? Evil in Star Wars, maybe a little bit more?
Oh yeah, well, Evil's the TV demon in Star Wars. I play a Sith Inquisitor. Uh, they're not that different from my audiobook work because even in my audiobook work, I like to imbue each character with life. So I play them all. I play every book like a video game. I give them all full life.
Mhm. And have you ever narrated a book that was already a personal favorite?
Like one I had read before or
Yeah,
had on the
yeah.
shelf or
Uh-huh.
no.
No, no,
Mm-mm.
no.
I have a few friends who read a lot of Stephen King work. That's also actually someone I would love to read Stephen King's work, but or Dean R. Koontz, the British version of Stephen King. I like horror books. I've never really done that. Uh, but no, I've never read a personal favorite.
So today, AI generated voices are becoming more common. What do you think is the irreplaceable value of human narration?
The irreplaceable value of human narration. What do I think is the irreplaceable
Yeah.
value of human narration? Well, I can only answer that question based on where we are today. And today, most of the time, I can tell if it's an AI voice or not. It's just not good enough yet. But is human narration irreplaceable? I don't know. And that's why people are so worried in the unions. And that's why actors are fighting to protect human narration. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're all replaced by machines. The Industrial Revolution replaced working men and women with machines. There's no longer manufacturing in this country. I mean, AI is not, the fact that we're going to be replaced by AI, being replaced by a machine is not new for the human race. The difference is, will we allow it? So, whether we're replaceable or not, the real question is, what is the value of human work? What is the value of being paid for work? That's the real question. And in American history, certainly, there's no value to human work. We just send it overseas and pay them a dollar. So ultimately, I don't know if I agree that human narration is irreplaceable, but I do not believe that everything that can be replaced should be. I don't think that technology helps us when we take it to the nth degree, because what it has always done is replace us. And we'd be fools to think that AI won't do it because the printing press did it, machines that print stuff, machines that make cogs, machines that make clothes. AI is not the first time we've been replaced, but we keep allowing it.
Mhm.
So we're likely to be replaced. But here's the thing, I'm technically a bit lazy. So as long as I get paid a residual, borrow my voice and make it sound like I did the book. Just pay me.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to become an audiobook narrator?
Oh, practice reading out loud, everything, newspaper articles, practice reading, read out loud, read out loud. And I mean, I would say prepare a reel, but I don't even know what that means today. I've been involved in the industry for so long, reading audiobooks for definitely the last like 28 years, maybe if you include the London stuff, but certainly in the last 20 years here. And I'm fairly consistent. Um, so I would say that I don't really know what it takes these days to get into this industry. I don't ha I know I'm so far removed from the entrance to this industry that I don't know what it looks like. In fact, I'm looking at the exit. I'm getting so ancient I can barely read the text anymore. They're gonna just be like, this guy's so old. But yeah, so I just think practicality of it is knowing how to read, practice doing voices, practice accents, these are not all things I did. Um, I sort of lucked out and then learned the business that way, but I'm sure there's avenues to success. I mean, just read a flaming book on YouTube. These days you can get famous from farting the national anthem in public. And I'm practicing it because I'm tired of working as hard as I'm working. You know, what else do you want to know now that we're on the farting part of the interview?
Mhm.
We've descended.
So, is there anything else you would like to share about audiobook narration and
Oh,
yeah.
what I think you should know? Oh, Lord. Well, I'm free and available. I can be reached via Sherry Hoffman at Innovative Artists. No, uh, I don't think so. I think you've covered everything. I don't know what else I would share. It is a real joy. I do love doing it. In many ways, I like it better than the public part of performance. Um, it's lovely to get feedback from a live audience, and it's lovely to, meet people afterwards and hear about it. You don't get any of that opportunity in audiobooks. Rarely do you meet people after it, and you don't get that sort of whether it be constructive criticism or plaudits. You don't really get that. Um, but for me, I think that's a really good way of honing your craft of acting. You have to learn everybody's part, and that's really interesting. But I don't think there's there's nothing particularly special in there beyond knowing how to read and giving it 100% and having total faithful belief that you have the talent and the right to help the author build the audible version of their world. And it's nice to be a part of that. But I'm not the author. I didn't write the book and I don't deserve the applause. But I did help create a tiny bit of the audible world of the book, and I'll always have that.
Well, thank you very much for this
We'll
interview.
always have Paris, which we will always have Paris because I met you in Paris, didn't I? Not literally, I mean last year. In fact, it's
Mhm.
almost a year since
It's
we were.
almost a year, yes.
Remember, we went to see the Eiffel Tower and it didn't have a top.
It's true.
They they hadn't removed it. They had just, it was a very smoky day. Not smoky. What's the word I'm looking for? Cloudy day. I'm
Cloudy,
actually
yeah.
I'm gonna look and see if I can find the picture. I was flicking through my albums yesterday trying to
Hmm.
some things because I get tired of the same thing. But this is where we were in Paris.
Yeah.
It just sort of
We chose
ends.
that day.
Mhm. Do you remember the story that we came up with that we were imagining a sort of mist that slowly descended onto the earth and human
Oh,
race had to hide in the
it's
earth?
true. Yes.
Maybe I'll write that book and then
Yeah.
I can do my own audio for my own stuff and then I'll take all of the praise.
Yes.
But yeah, anyway, this was lovely. Thanks for doing
Oh,
this.
thank you.
And Noelle, thanks for updating the website, keeping it up to date. Listen, I'm not very good with the social media, as you know, I don't have any. Really. And so having the website is a nice calling card. I'm old fashioned like that. I'm sure, there are people out there who don't even know what a website is anymore. We're so used to getting it in sound bites on these
Mhm.
short platforms, short-term platforms. But so for me, the website's a really great calling card. I'm really grateful. So thank you.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
mean,
so you're going to put this on the site. You're going to run this on the site and on YouTube
well, on YouTube and embedded on
into
the
the site.
site. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good.
But, you will see all the intermediate versions first. It will have to have your approval for
Oh, I
everything.
approve. I
Yeah,
approve this mess. It's actually better if it doesn't have my approval. Again, I don't know what I would change. I'm not gonna like change anything. Everything we
Mhm.
said was brilliant. And honestly, you should even keep this bit in the interview. Just let it roll. Don't delete this bit. It's showing who we really are,
Okay.
discussing life.
Okay.
We do like to discuss life. We
Oh,
FaceTime.
absolutely.
We argue over stuff. You've sent me a million books. Uh, Some of them are up here somewhere. I don't really remember.
Mm.
I haven't read all of these.
Yeah, I know.
I just sit in front of them because it makes me look like a genius.
Same here.
Oh, I
Same here.
know.
It's a passion for the object as
It's a
well.
passion for the object. Well, I mean, that's consumption. That's capitalism. That's why I love the movie In Fabric
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's so artfully explains how destructive consumption is.
Hmm.
I love that film. It's also erotic and scary.
I have to watch it again. The last time I
You will have
saw
to
it,
watch it again
yeah,
because I
with
don't
it from
think
a
you
different
appreciated
perspective.
it
Yeah.
well enough the first time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Sure deserves, yeah. A
I think I
second
mean, I've
look. Yeah.
watched it 4 or 5 times. I've watched
Hmm.
God like 16 times now.
I know it's your absolute, is
I
it
would
still your
say that I
absolute
can,
favorite?
it is my favorite. Well, no, I don't really have a singular favorite
Yeah.
movie. Now we're on movies. We're not even doing books, but you can keep all this too.
Hmm.
Sure, it'll be fascinating. No, but I do have a list of my favorites because, like I said, short-term memory, it's all going.
Hmm.
And I can tell you right now, these are all movies that you should watch if you haven't already. And you may have because I keep
Hmm.
yelling. Mad God in
Yeah.
Fabric. The
Uh-huh.
Innocents.
I still have to watch it. It's
The
in my computer,
Innocents.
but yeah.
I
Mm.
love that Netflix movie. I saw the TV glow. That was
Mhm.
so claustrophobic and brilliant. I love the sci-fi movie Nope.
Yeah, well,
And
let's
I
not
love the movie The
mention
King. I love the
what
movie
happened.
The King Tide. I like watching
The
the King Tide
King
movie.
Tide.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should watch those. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm afraid it is time uh to bring this to a close. Um, but thanks for caring.
Oh, come on. It's a
Yeah.
joy. It's a
Aw.
joy to do it. I love
Um,
doing this.
Send my love to everyone in France, especially the French. And maybe not. Yeah, no, all of them, all
All
the
of them.
French,
Ooh.
all of them, even the ones that I wouldn't necessarily agree with.
Hmm.
There's so much going on. There's so much discord and disharmony over here that I've decided to like all of the French now.
Is that your
I'm probably gonna
consolation?
get. We're gonna regret this whole interview now because I'm gonna get cancelled. Anyway, listen, that was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Thanks for
Bye.
watching. Thanks for watching.